All right, hello everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of the Tower Light Sports Podcast. We're without Jesse once again today, and we're also having some work done to our computer. So we're in a new locale today. We're on the black couch in the office, so We're constantly on the move. So no Jesse today. He's actually meeting with the job recruiter. So
good luck, Jesse.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Hopefully that works out well for him. You got really excited about that.
Yeah, I like Jesse. He's cool.
So over the next 2 weeks, we'll be breaking down the NCAA tournament, or at least what's left of it. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that's probably what everyone in the sports world is talking about right now, besides the end of the NBA regular season. So today we're going to go over the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8, and then next week we'll be breaking down the Final Four and who we predict to be the national champions. So just to get this out of the way, Jesse texted in his predictions to me. So he thinks... actually, these are his Final Four predictions. So, you know what? I'm not going to read those right now.
He only sent you the Final Four?
He says, but for what it's worth, Arizona over Florida for it all. So that's his national championship pick, I guess.
Well, that's who I have, just not winning.
Okay, well, I guess, we also have to see who wins and loses this weekend, because they might not even still be alive.
So Jesse really jumped the gun on that one.
Yeah.
We apologize for that.
So Matt and I are going to go over our Sweet 16 picks. We are in the same bracket pool, so I think Matt is going to do some considerable smack talking because I think he's ahead of me right now.
Yeah, I have the standings right here. My name Jamaican Me Crazy Benamon is in second place, and in seventh is Fours Threes.
Well, tied for seventh to be fair. So
it looks like sole possession now.
Oh darn it!
I know. He's Mighty Munch 27 is really struggling.
I started out in first and I went downhill from there.
Well,
I'm blaming it all on Kansas.
I tell you, in the first place bracket is a girl that I did the bracket for. So, I mean, you could say I'm in the first place.
Wait, that's collusion.
Well, I might get half the money. So
that's tainted.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry. She needed to do it quickly, and I did it. And I'm the man because I'm in first place.
That's what she said. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Well, so let's just start off in the South. I guess we'll work from left to right. So our first Sweet 16 matchup. We have Florida and UCLA. I had predicted it to be VCU, actually. So they were another one that kind of hurt my bracket because I thought they were going to have a good tournament run again this year. But so it's Florida and UCLA. I have Florida moving on to the Elite 8. I don't know about you, Matt, but... Oh, wait. Yeah, you said that Florida's your national championship pick, too.
Yep.
So, as it is mine. So I just... Florida looked really good against Pittsburgh for anybody who didn't watch that game. They ended up, it was like close in the first half, and then in the second half, Florida really broke away, and they look really good right now. And I'm always of the belief that you need a freshman to make it on national TV during the regular season, but you need seniors to win a national championship, and that's what Florida has. They have a really strong group of seniors. Casey Prather is leading them right now, and I think he leads them in points, but I'm not 100% sure.
I don't know.
I should have looked
He's
this up
there. He's one of them.
But anyways, they have a really strong group of seniors, and I think that's the key to them winning the national championship. And I think that's part of the reason why Kansas and Duke got eliminated so early was because they rely pretty heavily on freshmen.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, Florida, the way they play with their senior, like they gel. Their team works really well together. I mean, they're suffocating on defense, and Scotty Wilbekin is the man and looks
That's
a little bit...
That's a great last name.
Yeah, he looks a little bit like Grievous Vasquez, which just kind of makes me happy, me, the Maryland basketball fan in me. And, they're ferocious on defense, and so was Pitt, and they well, I don't want to say demolished them, but they really suffocated Pitt. So I could see them... I mean, UCLA's got a good offense, but I could see Florida shutting that down too. So, I mean, you know who I'm picking, Florida, but...
Yeah. So the next matchup, I got completely wrong. I think you probably did too, Matt, unless you have some sort of psychic powers. No. But it's number 11 Dayton versus number 10 Stanford in that region. I don't think anyone saw this coming. I'd be really surprised if anybody had this predicted at the beginning of the bracket. But I think Dayton is actually going to end up winning. Stanford has looked really good, but I think Dayton is just like that George Mason VCU. They have that vibe to them. That this is just kind of... I mean, I don't know if they're going to make the Final Four, but I have the feeling that they would... that they're going to win this Sweet 16 matchup. They're just playing really well right now. And like I said, I just have like a feeling it's just kind of like a gut kind of thing.
Yeah, I'd say my gut says Dayton. I don't know. I will...
Stanford is a good basketball team, though. I think they got a pretty... I thought at the beginning that they got a lower seed than they probably should have had.
Yeah, the Pac-12 was it? Yeah, Pac-12 now. They're a little underrated going into the tournament, but Yeah, Stanford, they benefited from being really big. They also benefited from not having Joel Embiid play on Kansas. I picked New Mexico to make it, so I did have that little upset over Kansas thing going. I just happened to pick the wrong team to upset Kansas. But Dayton, just to bring them down a little bit, they did play Ohio State and Syracuse, which are two teams that at the start of the season we thought, oh, title contenders, and then by the end of the season we're like, okay, could you guys get it together, or like what's going on? So two kind of reeling teams going into the tournament. But Gut says Dayton. I'm going to go with Stanford just because I think they're stronger and bigger than Dayton, but so were Syracuse and Ohio State. So, I would not be surprised if Dayton made it, and I kind of am cheering for Dayton to make it. But I'm going to go with Stanford just by what on paper it looks like.
And then out of the South region, we're both taking Florida, obviously, to make it to the Final Four. So that's our pick for that region. Then moving on to the East. The first Sweet 16 matchup we have is Virginia versus Michigan State. I actually have Michigan State winning. I think that Virginia was a little overrated coming into the tournament. I mean, I think that they deserve to get a number 1 seed just because of their pure regular season record. But I just think that in terms of people picking them to make it as far as the Final Four, I think in that sense they were overrated.
Yeah, I don't know.
Virginia, I also have, to be fair, I also have Michigan State making it to the Final Four eventually. Mm-hmm. So that's also part of the reason why I'm just picking them in general.
Virginia, I was on the Virginia train going into this tournament. I was like, yes, Virginia plays defense. They dismantled Duke in the ACC championship game. They were doing really well, and it seemed like they were the cream of the crop in the ACC, and I was ready to put them in the Final Four because I thought they were good, and then Michigan State got drawn in their region, and I just can't, it's going to be a wonderful game. I think it might be one of the best games of the tournament.
And Izzo he's just a tournament coach. He doesn't lose obviously he loses at some point in the tournament, but he's not, when you're picking against the Michigan State team, you have to take him into account. Yeah. He's just that good of a coach that he's one of the coaches that will change the course of a game. Mm-hmm. Even if it's not during the game, he will affect the outcome of the game by what he does in preparation for the game.
And Michigan State is a team that, you didn't hear that much about during the season. I mean, they were somewhere in the teens, maybe 20s, because they dealt with injuries all season. But now they have all these people back, and Adrian Payne can really, score. I was going to say drop the pain, but that's not really a cliche. So sorry about that.
Bring the pain.
Yeah, I don't know. I just felt like there was something that had to do with pain that I could say. But, he scored 40 in, I think, the first round game. Whoever they played, it was, Delaware. Yeah, Delaware. Who actually kind of gave Michigan State a fight towards the end, and so did Harvard. But I would have to pick Michigan State over Virginia just because I think Michigan State's dealt with this before, and Tom Izzo's the man. So
then in the next game, we have Iowa State and Connecticut. I was tempted to pick UConn. For those of you who don't know me, I'm originally from Connecticut, and I still have family there. So I guess I consider them not really my hometown team, but out of all the teams in college basketball that I follow besides Towson, it's UConn. My grandfather's actually a really big men's and women's UConn basketball fan, so anytime I talk to him on the phone, that's usually what he's talking about. I think Shabazz Napier has that Kemba Walker factor to him, that he'll step up in big games, but I think Iowa State is just the better team overall.
Yeah, this one's a tough one. Shabazz Napier is really good, and he's playing well right now. I mean, they beat Villanova pretty handedly, and UConn's a team that they're just built, especially Napier. I think he's a senior, right?
Yeah.
So senior leadership there. They could make a run. Iowa State had, I can't remember his name, but the third leading scorer for Iowa State broke his foot in the first round game. So he's out, which is going to damper them a little bit. But I think Iowa State is just an overall stronger team, and I think they play well as a team. I'm not saying UConn doesn't, but I think Iowa State's a better team than
They
UConn.
just have that. I know what you're saying. Being a smaller, lesser known basketball school, they just kind of have that team factor to them that probably none of them are ever going to make it in professional basketball somewhere, but they're just gelling together really well as a group.
Mm-hmm. And Connecticut, I didn't live there, but I have some irrational thing that Connecticut's the second best state in the entire United States, other than Maryland. I don't know why. Just every time I go to Connecticut, I just love it.
I think the taxes would kind of dispute that, but that's kind of that's a political science discussion.
I'm just a big fan of Connecticut, so it'll pain me to see them lose too. But I'm going to pick Iowa State.
So then that would give us our Elite Eight matchup of Michigan State and Iowa State. And I think we kind of already have established that, I'm going to pick Michigan State. And I think from the way that you talked about them as well, Matt, that would be the route that you would take.
Yep, yeah, they're the team of destiny in that group. And Iowa State, I think the injury will catch up to them because they're going to need everything to beat Michigan State. And they won't have everything. It'll be close. I don't think Michigan State's going to blow them out, but I think Michigan State will win that one. I think it might even be easier than the Virginia game.
And then, all right, so now moving over to the West, then we get Arizona and Wisconsin. Or no, I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself.
Whoa.
I got way ahead of myself there. The first Sweet 16 matchup in the West is Arizona and San Diego State. I think we're moving a little slow here, so I'm going to try to pick up the pace. But I'm going to take Arizona. I have Arizona as a Final Four selection. I had that pre-tournament. I just think that they're the better team than San Diego State. And they also impressed me all regular season, even though they did have, I forget who they lost to, but they had some upset, or I guess were upset at different points in the season. But they just impressed me watching them in the regular season. And just from everything that I've read and watched and listened to, there's a lot of professionals in the field who are really high on this Arizona team as well.
Mm-hmm. Arizona, they have a freshman phenom. I think Nick Johnson, is that his name, or is it Aaron Gordon? Aaron Gordon, that's it. I always get those two names mixed up. But they're strong too. They did lose, I think it was Brandon Ashley, I think is his name. And they're still going strong. They lost in the Pac-12 final to UCLA, but I think they're just a stronger team. San Diego State plays really good defense, but so does Arizona. And then if it comes down to scoring, Arizona scores a lot more than San Diego State. San Diego State's having a tough time scoring, so I'd have to go with San Diego State in this one. I mean, not Arizona in this one. San Diego State looked like a nice upset pick early, but I don't know. I'm not going with it. I'm going with Arizona and Aaron Gordon.
Then we have Baylor and Wisconsin. Baylor actually surprised me. They surprised me because I picked them, and I didn't. It was one of those picks that I was like, I guess I'll pick Baylor, but I didn't really feel too good about it. And probably if I had to go back and redo my bracket before that game, I would have picked Creighton. But they played an excellent defense against Creighton, and Creighton, I don't know what their percentage shooting was, but just from the eye test, they probably weren't shooting much better than like 42%, somewhere around there. And Doug McDermott, they really held him in check as well. So that's what impressed me about Baylor. But I think Wisconsin is one of those teams that not a lot of people talked about going into the tournament, and they were kind of a quiet 2 seed. So I'm going to pick Wisconsin to beat Baylor.
Yeah, this is an interesting matchup. I also picked Baylor. So, we were on the same path with that one. Baylor's big, and Baylor can obviously shut down on defense like they did against Doug McDermott. They absolutely he had like 3 points at half or something, which is ridiculous for him. But I'd have to say that Wisconsin, they can shoot like Doug McDermott can, but they have 4 or 5 guys that can shoot like Doug McDermott can. So when you're talking about teams, Wisconsin is far above Creighton, because we saw once you take Doug McDermott away from Creighton, Creighton's awful, or at least they did play awful against Baylor. But Wisconsin's going to be a better team. I think this is the time for Bo Ryan. Wisconsin, I always pick to make the Final Four, and they always lose in like the first or second round and then blow up my bracket. But you know what? This time, I believe in you, Wisconsin. So I'm going with Wisconsin over Baylor as well.
Also, I want to go back and retract my 42% statement. I realized, thinking about it, that 42% actually isn't that bad of a shooting percentage in college basketball. Yeah. So I don't know why I arbitrarily selected that number. So just disregard that, please.
Yeah.
But also, I think for Wisconsin, it's important to flash back to I guess it's the second round. I always get confused with the first 4. They just call it the first 4 and then call the first round the first round. But
that
anyways,
would be nice, yeah.
Yeah. But what they did to American, I think, was pretty impressive in the second half. I think American finished with 35 points. So we were talking about how good Baylor's defense is, but if you look back at that game, Wisconsin's defense is pretty impressive as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was almost unpatriotic the way they dismantled American like that. Sorry. Jeez, I'm just full of cliches and jokes today. But yeah, no, they shut them down. I think it was almost tied, and then they went on a 25-3 run or something. But yeah, Wisconsin can play, and they will be playing Arizona in our in our projection. So what do you think about that one, Munch?
I have Arizona.
Sorry, I played mediator there.
That's
was
okay.
Cool.
That's fine.
Yeah, but I have Arizona as well. I have Arizona in the final, but we're not there yet. But I think Arizona just has more talent. Wisconsin, if they shoot well, could easily beat Arizona because once they're hot, you can't stop them. But I think Arizona will do a good job. They play good defense. So if I had to pick it, I think Arizona has the talent, and I think they'll get by Wisconsin.
All right, and I have the same thing. So right now our Final Four teams are Florida, Arizona, and Michigan State. And then moving into the last region, we have the Midwest. And our first matchup is Kentucky and Louisville. I think this is going to be a really good game. I've heard some compelling arguments for Kentucky actually making it to the national championship game right now.
Well, that one
I'm
argument...
not saying that I believe them, but they're compelling.
There was a guy who tattooed Kentucky national champions 2014 3 weeks ago. So
maybe I should get like a Cleveland Browns 2014 playoffs tattoo on my bicep.
And it'll just automatically happen. If Kentucky wins, that guy, he's going to walk around to his friends and be like, I'm a psychic. Like, I don't even know how he did that. But no, Kentucky's a great team. They're playing well. I mean, people crap on Wichita State for not playing anybody, but they were a good team. And Clay Anthony Early's amazing. So they beat Wichita State up. And Louisville's another team. They play tough defense, though. And Montrezl Harrell's good. So Julius Randle, Montrezl Harrell, it's going to be a good matchup. I don't know who's going to get the best of it in that matchup. If I had to pick a team, I still think Louisville's a better team.
I think, I'm just going to pick Louisville. I think they're just a better team. But I'll go into my explanation once you're done.
Yeah, Kentucky, though, they're playing hot. And when you got a hot team, you never know what's going to happen. Like Tennessee at the bottom of this bracket. It's just a hot team, and you never know when they're going to keep going or if they're going to turn it off. But Louisville's got the championship pedigree, and they can play defense. I think it'll be very close, and I think it'll be an interesting game. But I'd have to pick Louisville. That's what my head says. So.
And I think the difference for me is the front court, in my opinion. Matt, you were just talking about how the big men kind of match up. Mm-hmm. And I think Kentucky is actually kind of at a disadvantage because with the personnel that they have, John Calipari has to play Julius Randle essentially in the paint as a center almost. I mean, he plays the 4, but he technically plays as a 5. And he actually has like a perimeter shot that not a lot of people know about and not a lot of pro scouts will know about when they're looking at him to potentially draft him. But I think that kind of puts him at a disadvantage because Randall can't really showcase all the skills that he has. Mm-hmm. So I think that's where the difference in that matchup is that Louisville just kind of has the more complete team.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Kentucky's got some talent. They get the Harrison brothers who decided to go to Kentucky instead of Maryland. I'm not bitter because I go to Towson. But, the guard play, Russ Smith is awesome. And he and Siva last year led them to the national title. So, and they have Hancock, who can shoot it, and he's big, so it could be an interesting matchup with whoever guards him, if it's Randall or anyone else. Was it Paulie Stein?
Cauley Stein.
Cauley Stein, yeah. So it'd be an interesting matchup, but I have to go with Louisville still.
All right, and then our last Sweet 16 matchup is Tennessee versus Michigan. In the interest of time, I'm just going to go ahead and take Michigan now. My case is essentially just against Tennessee. A lot of people are going to say, Tennessee's the hot team. But they had one of the easiest, trips through the bracket so far. They had to play in the first 4 games, so you also have to kind of take points off for them that they've played more games, so they might be a little more tired. Even though they do get the long breaks, but you kind of have to factor that tournament play atmosphere into it. Might be wearing down on some of the guys.
Well, you know what? I'm one of those people that is going to pick Tennessee. Yeah, well, for one reason, I had Duke beating Michigan, so if Tennessee wins, I don't lose any points, which is nice. But I think they're a big team, and Michigan is obviously a great team. They can shoot well, but I think Tennessee's going to shut them down shooting-wise, and if Michigan can't shoot, I don't think that Michigan's going to be able to find the options to beat Tennessee. Tennessee, yes, they've had an easy road. UMass, you uck. And sorry, my jokes today. No, but UMass was obviously overseeded, and Mercer's a team. Yeah, they beat Duke, but like you said, they're not the best team. But I think Tennessee is just going to find a way to win with defense. And I think I'd like to see it too. I don't know why. I just feel like it'd be cool to see Tennessee in the Elite Eight. But yeah.
So then in the Elite Eight, then we would have Louisville / Michigan or Tennessee. But I think no matter who Louisville's playing, Louisville's going to win.
Yeah, I'd have to go with that too. The only case I can make is if Michigan gets by and is still shooting the way they did against Texas, they could probably get by Louisville, but I don't think it's going to happen. And I think Louisville will make it, much to my dismay, because I have Duke in the Final Four. So.
All right, well, that's pretty much all of our picks for now. Like I said, next week we'll go into the Final Four. We could be completely wrong on all of these, so we'll be looking back at the bracket again next week, and then hopefully actually have Jesse back. So is there anything else that you wanted to add?
No, I don't think so.
All right, I guess in other sports, is there anything else that we need to go over really quick?
Terrence was all over ESPN today.
Oh, that is true. Terrence is, if anybody gets the chance, definitely watch SportsCenter today because they've been talking a lot about the draft. And go on to the ESPN Pod Center page and listen to Mel Kiper and Todd McShay's draft podcast because Terrence actually gets brought up a lot in both of the two podcasts that they've released so far and that I've listened to. They've brought up Terrence both times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they keep calling him a sleeper, so I guess we'll see when the draft comes.
And his pro day is coming up, and we'll be there to cover that, so should be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I guess that's all we have for today, and we'll talk to you guys next week, and enjoy the games this weekend.